Okay, take care.
I messaged him.
Okay. Is he not in court? Or do we need to know?
I'm gonna submit and it's declared sent. I'm gonna have download it since I'm in the. It said to come to the domains and I want to activate it.
Okay.
This is the Commissioner's Office. We have the services for the arraignment for special services. They have 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, 4, 6, 7, 14, 2, 4, 6, 7, 14, 21 to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 20, 30 jurors. 7112 West Okanagan Place and 712 Building 8, Canoga, Washington 99336. And a mailer at CO Benton, Washington, U.S. That's 509-735-3591. Fax is 509-736-3066. This is the judge in the Courts of Appeals of Washington State, 1969, 1990, 91, which is the common license for the abstract. Felix Barela, B-A-R-E-L-A, F-E-L-X. October 21st, 1972, and the Social Security numbers 534767791. Date of birth is Richland, Washington, and it says judges of the Court of Appeals of Washington State, 1969 to 91, and enclosing the date of the volumes of incarceration, Mr. Obama, President Obama, inside the Adams County in correlation with the Washington State Lottery ticket. Mr. Edged Susan Turman, Alexander Gary, Anderson James, Emerson Ralph, and Mr. Obama is in the holding cells with Mr. and Mrs. Hatcher, Mrs. Hatcher, Mrs. Hatcher, and Mrs. Commissioner Sandy Strong, and Mrs. Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney, and also the siblings in the household Clearwater. This is Edward Ralph P. September 10th, 1969, December 31st, 1997. I got over 100 centuries of family here around the residence here. It's called 1975, appointed by Anderson James, Armstrong Ralph, Baker William, Callaway Keith, Coleman J. Joseph, Judge Jerry, and Assessor of Corporate T. Patrick, Dora Fred. And Fred is Donald Trump's brother. He was killed. Mr. Dale Johnson and Mueller has certain words with Daryl Johnson. He has nothing to do with him. Edward Ralph P. Ferris Jerome, Judge J. January 10th. Forrest Marshall, that's a headstone on Mueller's funeral. Mr. Gay Pointing and Honoris Charles, Judge James Franks, September 15, Kenny K. Fave, and Reverend James Bannon. Have a sadistic individual Muslim inside the holding cell, and the worst that happens is Sandy Strano moved me to a different unit since the and then opened up the cell door, and will, of course, have this individual put on the ground. He can eat his tray and his water sewer line and throw it on with the shit on it as well with his food, and you keep it Muslim, right? Mr. Charles State Tasker Marriage, Texandale Castle, Tag Estate 8, Testy and Blackwell, Thomas State, Thorson County. These terms and services were exercising their rights. Illegal alien on the property, and don't forget Mrs. and Mrs. Ajmer Susan Term, Mrs. Jerry Colbert, Chief Patrick, AR-14, AA-15, kicking the Winco door behind the Winco apartment complex, taking Lola Hernandez to the ground, and trying to take the siblings, this first pointed bloodline fit siblings from Lola Hernandez's grasp. Some degenerate Mormons breaking Lola's ankle with the siblings in her hands. Mr. Judge Jerry Forrest Marshall, Greendale M., Garcia King Kenneth, Hortz Charles, James Frank, and also Kennedy Faye, Ike McVeigh and Cafe, and Microsoft McVeigh antivirus system, Mr. Coach that was killed, and Henry One Help Fight, Mr. Bill Gates' homeboy coach, and then Roe Weller turned, and that was the year he was killed. 1982 was a Schofield J. Jack P., and also Mr. Sol Hardy, Sanford Charles, Swanson Herbert, and then the Swanson Herbert that the Spring Tree Apartments, where all the individuals vacated prison, he's having sex with the judge, and the judge and principal, the services for their increment services for the abstract record. That duration, the Swanson truck was totally emptied into a beautiful vehicle that was a sleek Cadillac from personal expenses for the services for Washington State and Supreme Court Justice, appointed justice, where they lowered Mr. Swanson Herbert for having intimate sex with the individual and the services there. Utter Robert F., Webster Walter E., Williams Willard, Windsor Robert, Warwick Stanley. And these are Court of Appeals of Washington. The State Washington Appeal by Craig R. Sigmund responded as the Singer sewing machine, hundreds of centuries old, prehistoric and Crosby building, and by the Kennedy and Arthur portraits, as you can see it, and the services that Florenzia Gonzaga and also here in Washington State Spokane, all of the increments actualized services. This distribution court of appeals in Washington, first name, last name, services, plot terms, locations, and also the declarations of a location, Mr. Obama, President of the United States, but he's a Muslim and service there. As you can see, Mr. Hatcher has in his individual sitting there, his camera recording services, Mr. Obama having signing affidavits and having living day by day, life to life, knowing for the fact that he's under the surveillance, Mr. Horace Charles, on his appeal system here in his system, under crooked judges quorum. As you see, this quorum is statutes construction, meaning the words that quorum. It means as in appearing to stat, showing an appearance of your face, serving your meaning of their effect, examining the extent of contents in your pocket, meaning to serve an affidavit, your signature, and last and birthplace of any of these controlled substances in your area. These landlord-tenant use of these premises, drug promisings, these anything in your vagina or anything in your anus, you're gonna have to go to a scanner and pull all of these contents out of your 1 mile intestine and prevalent evidence against your criminal liability, and making sure we'll put some KY gel to remove this, or give you some food so it moves into the toilet so we can catch it on a catch-22 that came in from your anus, from your stomach valves. The knowledge acquired after leaving RCW 69.53.010 made criminal of a positive act for putting the property in possession into the contents of the toilet. Mr. Now, the Superior Court thrust on these 988.1.004313. We're doing Imperial 18. This is 18. April 18 of 1989. Now, unlawful of the building of the drug possession of your orifice, your vagina, anything your anus and your anal and your stomach cavity are swallowed. Take 1 hour to valve movement to come out of your anus. So we can put a 72-hour investigation on your contents of what you have in your property, in your orifices. He, she, it, whatever it is, Mr. Anybody calls you a hairsucker, meaning it, she, it, or both at the same time. But that discrepancy is on you on the application you put on for your appointed attorney at law. And if you're indigent, you have the free willing to not to speak to anybody in the process, and you're dropping your charges, as it sees in black and white, says single jury instruction priority. To define a criminal and abbreviated statute states on unlawful knowingly to rent to make available premises of your services of your orifices. The state argued through the statute violate defendant learns improper use of any of the time and delivery possession of their premises. The trial of the point apparently agreeing the state reading held in the statute and caused a vague applying segments and services. Now, this is going to be a Rocky Mountain area for the Queensgate area, which is a Rocky Mountain area. This will be called by the exclusion of business profits and babysitting. Now, you're babying pursuing on these Rock Mountain Casualty Company respondents. These are also insured business pursuit, babysitting constant business pursuits and conducting regular constitution based on compensations. And your babies and your children will be authorized and confiscated and used evidence against you on their premises. I'm going to consider, Mr. And this is, as you can see, the coverage on his personal liability, bodily injury, and property damage, and occurrence to which these orifices. Now, Mr. Ferris Swanson and Horse, and also Mr. Utter. These divisions won the Court of Appeals judges by the year of 1969, 1970, 1971, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, and also 78, 1979, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 1990, 91. Now, the volume of the expirations for the authority, the cumulative injunction index and abortion services for and buying services for this Muslim. Meaning words of sticks and stones will not break your bones. Your names will never hurt you. So if you say all those words at one time, the sticks and stones can't hurt you. This is the constitutional law of the Pillar Review. Let me just remove this bullet and this 50 caliber 223 and all the full automatic shells that have been fired upon me, and pulled it and used it against you in this bag. Pull the orifices and surgicals and also the stitches and also abrasion lacerations, and they'll have this controlled services of nature of acts and prosecution available here in the building, 7121 Sokonaga Place, Kennewick, Washington 99336. Now, until 8 months after this tenant took possession of this property, the defendant learned that the tenant was growing marijuana in the living room at 1313 West Grand Ronde, in which is Errol and Jack and Jessica. She's been fondled, molested, raped, pillaged here at them. She owns the sheriff posse and also the bodacious services. And she said I had brothers and sisters, and they don't. They're a bunch of rapists. Now, these marijuana plants are grown in services here. There's services in 1331 service, and Mrs. Jake and Liz Cheney has these services, a WHIP program they acknowledge with Mr. Sandy Strong, convicting them for pretty much merging and perjury and services like they distribute and manufacturing on building drug positions, the lawful owner managed penalties and carries out stiff sentences. Mr. Softy, Mr. Hatcher has delegated as and Mrs. and then never will be separated. They'll be forever together. How many wives or children they have, as Mueller would put it. Jim Miller has the services including the coverage of these St. Martin's homeowner policies have been erupted. This is a rare find that's been on the surface here at the Mueller Freedom. This is a good getter. It's a good catcher. Put some bait on the hook and catch her in the mouth and drag her out and have her sedated and put in public and scattered. There are ashes everywhere. This is a prop of motivation, or a go-getter, right? A fire starter, right? It's a Jancha Supriya. Now, the federal district court found coverage on burdens sustained by the child who was being carried by another home operative, coloring of her coffee, Mrs. Coffee, spilling contents in her after the polished sheet metal across the street. Now, this scumbag is classified as non-business operative, but he's really a processing business certificate, carrying a sophisticated individual certificate around, and he doesn't even own the fucking property. He's holding the Conditioned Activity Act is insured on this injury result can I locally call an activity in order, because this individual is a sly, very individual. I'm trying to prepare myself to sit down and not jump off the staircase and pursue and chase this individual in public and scatter himself as an individual, sophisticated con artist for all kinds of walks of life, as you can tell. It comes here. Someone too was talking about George Washington's might take. I'm afraid of Washington. George Washington's might. That's Lola Hernandez, by the way. Department of Fisheries, as you see the fish sticking out of the con artist individual on the jury box and the judges, and the alcohol spurring and marijuana coming out of the back of his ears, as he's an aquatic farmer kind of individual. Abusive statute defined in the private sector, in the Iberian sector at San Luis Obispo, which is all gigantic decorations of management can cultivate private sectors. Products is used for assessments and property assessments and decision. And this is a obstruction in several terms, but this is an administrative. And you see, this is embarrassing because this agency that amended by these statutes and the functions interprets the statutes of Myers like Fred Myers. Now, Fred Myers was a beautiful town in Richland, Washington. Next to it was a cougar that was drone for their services right across from the casino. And there's a black and white checkerboard flooring with a hot rod, and the hot rod's from Idaho, the state of Idaho. And this hot rod has a dead body on the, didn't look good, there's a dead body on the floor. So we're gonna have to get rid of all the dead body, which is the statue of Mrs. Hodges content. Now Mrs. Hodges, Raw White Department of Fisheries in Richmond, Washington. That's Roberta by Fred Myers. They talk, they chat, they sit there. She's talking SAHI to their faces. So this is a issue of citation. Raw Aquatic Farmer pursued criminal pursuit of violation 2306947. The district court rejected the convictions of the services and invalid registration. Criminal pursuits and conversations they do not partake in October 15th, 1988. This is Jennifer McGuire. She's pretty she's a hob, considered means angry individual, hides herself as a sophisticated businessman. She's a conniving fool, as you can see. Charged of kidnapping, first degree, RCW 98.40.20. Entered an admirable plea and amended in kidnapping, second degree, RCW 98.40.0. Disguise in all sorts. Now, the findings of the fact, the federal currently resides and victims Jennifer McGuire lived in the period approximately months. This reported that Mrs. Hobbs experienced a difficulty in current time, worried for the safety of her life, just like Felix Barela. Scared for my life. I pee on myself. I'm so scared, which is true, because the schedule of the trial of this matter required Professor Prosecutor reluctant to testify the case against him, because he was scared for his life, and all of them were scared of their lives. In the time of the offense, defendant Mrs. McGuire, ongoing alleged defendant, became upset because McGuire had been dating another man. You were dating another man, but it was a he, she, it was a it, and then we put it heterosexual. But the discrepancies of having a penis or vagina at the same time have boobs and all that. The discrepancies called heterosexual. We're very protective of all of these individuals, like Mr. Obama, my pet. Go into relation to him because of the McGuire has been to date another man. The time offense of Hobbs, extremely emotionally distraught point, they're like temporary. Indication of the Hobbs engaged and connected with the first place. The collision of this law that the offense is defended extremely emotions distress cause upset defense from relations. And the capacity of appreciate the wrongful conduct, confirmed conduct of the crimes and laws. And this is a true story. Very true story. And they respond together to varying domestic violence problems attend to the various sentences of the sentence. The range appropriate court believes a sentence of 90 days in King County Jail constitutes appropriate punishment for the investigation. For the ongoing services that were excluded on conclusions that the states and claims and efficiency support conclusions. Because Felix Barela sits here and resides here and lives here and there's nothing you can do about it. It's a Social Security office with 3 different locations. This chemical library says the Barela section and the services they have been served an affidavit, department license, and also the coordinate. That's Bobby Fox, not Bobby Fox, but Bobby Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, moving the body up near this spring home at 712 West Okanagan Place, Kenneth Watch, Coroner's office, and Johnson's office, and also the court office, and Eric Benson, and Leonard Bambach, and then Jay Mueller, and also the service they have. This is Kenneth Library. That's a fraudulent forgery right here for the law books that have been purchased and processed here. Now this is West America, and Mrs. McDonald and Miss Papa Murphy's. The really owner of Papa Murphy's from Indians, and the Secretary of Apartments Department 205 are Indians, and also the Mueller Spring Home is me. All me, because they didn't do nothing for me. And this is community caretaking function, didn't do nothing for me either. Hospital services, surgical floors, services, and USDA opening up a cow's stomach in broad daylight and exposing the community and their services, their siblings, and the babies. They call me the baby killer. I'm only age 3 years old, and they call me baby killer. See, I put up with these individuals come to my fence line and sit there and make talk about that. Hold themselves mercenaries, mercenaries acts. These are pitiful, these are childish individuals you can see. Now, the community caretaking function of vehicles when there's abandoned it, Tri-City Herald, abandoned it, the IGA, Budweiser Ranch, abandoned it, Sheriff's Office, abandoned. These ain't a capital punishment individuals did nothing to me. See, these are my hands. This is Bob Fox, Bobby Fox, and this is Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, and their bodies are moving out of the funeral and in the crematorium. Come a dozen. So their son's sitting there, I'm sorry, I murdered you. I'm apologizing. No, you better go to Mexico because they see you anywhere, they're going to have you killed. And take all that money and we'll take the bank and you will go to Mexico and live there. And you'd be the billionaire. There would be your own office, your cubicle, a wall. And you're apologizing for your murder. You don't have to apologize to me because I'm not telling you what's going to happen to you. First off, I'm not. You take that gun with you and shoot the guy behind you because he's gonna arrest you and take you in. I can open the cremator door and you can open all these cell units and put down all these individuals in your way because you want to run a business now. So you're very sophisticated individual. You're very smart individual. As you can see, you're very slow on that and you're really stupid trying to kill me because you're a childish individual. Now, wash the impoundment program with reasonable alternatives. There's maybe some start over, maybe take that computer and Microsoft and just start a new slate. Now, this is 479 ordinances by the United States of America, 37576. Now, VOC and Donald Trump, and they can talk, VOC can talk. They can talk. It's $2 billion. You want a divorce, you can talk to Lola over there, you can talk to Lola over there, you can talk to services. Lola don't like Mexicans, don't like blacks, don't like Muslims, and the white minority of black people, and that's their thing because you're on his property and blah, blah, none matters, and will never will be. And she said you're afraid with her. So the Washington Comment Appropriate Reasonable to State Greenway. Now, the Greenway is a beautiful greenway. That's a good career move for Mr. Woods. And you're divorced now, and since I'm right here with her, and there's nothing you could do about it. And this coward trooper Walker testified. He asked for Mrs. Hill, which is of course, the Lamborghini, and also the Lamborghini and the Ferrari, and Mrs. Hill. Mrs. Hill, and driving it, I can walk anywhere I want. You understand that? This is just a telephone call to someone, not specific information to you, because you can go jump off the oil rig and kill yourself. I really don't care. I'll just put you and prep you up and set you up by service. You love it here. You love the services here. Trooper Walker testified that Mrs. Hill drives to a phone call. Someone that asked who wanted to park and left the adjacent parking lot at, of course, the 712 West Oakland place called Connaught. Now, that's Connaught address. The Social Security Smith 310 is Connaught, okay, 3 times. Trooper Walker cross-examined testified as an unclear exact circumstance which made impoundment normal, and they would impound based on a beer alcohol, simply highlight violation. A sober person will be available to drive. Are you sober? Oh no. I'm the Chief Justice Department, I'm the FBI, I'm drunk right now, I gotta sober up. Now, the troopers stated they would have released the vehicle of sober persons in violation of RCW 46.61, that's Connaught 502. The auto parts store, we'll figure that out. Now, the troopers decided to impound this Barracuda at 1313 West Climate, the best big Barracuda in the planet, the fastest thing on the world. Now, these Chevys blow out the engines compared to Ford Mustangs. And the state trooper for me said, "Look, these Barracudas can outrun any Caminos and ZRs, and I said Corvette ZR1 Corvettes." Now, this is provenly fact. The search and passenger compartment of the vehicle looking for eyesight and any retaining of containers and arresting the weapons, destruction weapons, or any possession of seizures. Driver arrested and for the state Strad 106, 144, 152, 720 P2436, decided solely in action section 7 Washington states that the case is 6-2 Act 793-795-96, 816P, Section 57, 1991. Now, appended to state grounds. Review denied, of course. Now, the difficulty and the emotional distress of her being pregnant and those duration policies received by assaulting Mrs. Angel, and you are Mexican, and you beat up Angel, and she only weighs 82 pounds, 90 pounds at most, and that's negligent compliance with statute. And it's a beautiful witness, and that amateur service is a fuck. Fuck Trump. Look at that. 68, Washington State Plan 1992. Senior Federal Flag Services, 1960. 1956, what? Roberta Brown Baca back home. That book fell as you cursed. Satan lives here. There's a ghost here. Momo Ganja. Now, this property of summary judgment, Clark argues there's material issues that preclude in terms of summary judgment matter. Now, the review of the summary judgment. Remember when you beat down Lola Hernandez taking a sibling from her like that? Mr. AR-14, AR-15 for Patrick. Don't. He's in the gallery. He's still fighting, as you can see, as a ghost. He's still fighting. See his body dangling in the background for me? Now, the arrest warrant and the non-possession statute violation affect inventory service nature of Africa. And these Afro-Negroes prosecuting possession and control substances, defendant arrested and transported in jail for Aphrodite, kidnapping, listening, falsified information. And they're all protected by these uniforms they wear. Because these uniforms they wear are intolerable to the whole trial in court and to terminate maintaining their reviews and judgments by Sandra Soderman. And this is $1,806.50 you owe me. Now, spouse maintenance and after marriage at $500. And this is a $5 attorney fee, of course. Now, James, Mr. James, this guy's named James. Oh, Operation 007, scary. Reverse the trial court judgment, man, that allows attorney Sandra. Now, Sandra prevailed a party of a trial court at here, and that's Cunnault, C-U-I-N-A-U-L-T Avenue, 712 West Okanagan Place, Canada, Washington. Now, I believe the approach applied to consider whether maintenance be terminated upon remarriage. Remarriage, I'm not thinking about it. That's like you're married and you face consequences. You're married and you will never be divorced because you're married anyways, and it's called remarriage. It says remarriage of the recipient spouse, and this docket says, as you can say, this is a picture of McCain pulling Lola off this Negro. And he's white. Look at him. It's a white Negro. Now, marriage contract in 69, 17, and therefore, quarters of marriage when working do full time. And the Idro digital. Digital, you see digital? No, this digital services, and this is back in this is 170 centuries old. That's a long time. So this marriage contract in 1970, 1981, therefore, quarters married when working due to full time, and that's area of doubt, digital inflation. Digital inflation. Let's see. It's $1,806.50. So you short me for 10 years, and that's what? 40 cents for the dollar, 60 cents short of American dollar, and this is a $500 retainer, and this is Mr. Pickles Concord, reviewed on 114W second 1014. Now it's 1014 for that reason, because of the Florence and headstones and process, and of course, and Forrest Gump and Mr. John F. Kennedy, the President of the United States. Now these are serious black and white services they got available for the prosecutor to respond. Mr. Andy Miller. He's just Mr. Andy Miller. He has these services for these controlled, individual, defrauded individuals that need help. Now all the begging and the quivering and the shaking, intimidation, and the gun smoke down, explosion level, you come to your senses that this is your marriage celebrated. See, there's no escaping out of the wrath of a black hole. It just gets worse when you run away. Now, the building regulations, build permits, application rights, acquisition landlords, require the invested right to develop prosperity and complete this beautiful shirt I will donate to you, which is bulletproof. Take a 9mm, a BB with a shotgun spread, a 12 gauge, a 10 gauge shot. You can take a 9mm shot, 45 .38 caliber, anywhere, of course, the bottom of the cavity, anywhere by the navel, anywhere by the lattice in the back of the sternum. You can take any shots at point range. It looks like a small cotton shirt. It's bulletproof. I'll donate that to you. Billions of shirts to you. I provide service. I acknowledge you wear it. The response for these objections to DCLA proposed amendment, which stopped demolition of existing housing purpose development multiple consent under lots, are a memo of the City Council directors. Now this is city mayor back then. Now back then, mayor, they had Mr. and Mrs. Madsen and George Washington have nooses and platforms for hanging people in the backyard. In front of the marshals and increments, these due process claims were the City of Seattle. The power of regulation of hanging people and restraining people in the processing and having the violation for very violent individuals that carry stiff sentences that are executed on the spot. City of Seattle. And City of Seattle authority upheld police power, promote public health and safety, welfare, reasoning disputes, relation to abuse, reasonable, sustained accomplices. Now, this is the Construction and Equal Protection Act, and this is, of course, November 1989. Very famous. Mr. Bill Gates and Roberta Barela. Lola Hernandez didn't like that much because he was quite the individual. He was very, very smart. He was very prominently visiting Roberta and going to services. Tom and Father Tom, Father Dylan, Father Richard, and don't forget Mr. Spada. And I'll track you down and confront you on in the division of Mr. Spada, Mrs. Spada, Amanda Spada, Alyssa Spada, unless there was Ajmer Singh Nijjar. Will dispatch all units on those services to contact the Deputy Officer Joseph Carol J. BENZEL, the judge of Othello, Washington. Now, Whitman Lodge arrested Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Smith, of course, because they're on the Canada border and Vox sitting there intimidating, as in talking, a conversation, a vocal conversation, recorded, of course. Hello, how you doing, sir? You know Felix Barela, don't you? And we know what you're all about. What you combine yourself as, you sneaker's fool. Distraughted individual. You are arriving in a jail now because of moi, I am in line. Mrs. Smith pursues the front seat of the vehicle, proceeds to move to a jail deputy, disguising herself. Catherine Treadmill. A treadmill. Make me laugh. Begin the search contents to Defense Officer Carol J. BENZEL. And this recaptures of 25 years of you lost your service of being a judge and lawyer. For that coincidence, Mr. Abraham Lincoln was executed 3 different times. 3 times because they killed him when he showed up that way. I am the president. I'm an attorney and I screwed people over. Shoot me 1 time. Oh, no, I'm president. Shoot me twice. No. I'll watch a movie we'll make famous. And he was executed on 3rd time. Now, this is Catherine Treadmill. Entry room. Dumped Miss Purse. Dumped her purse. Beginnings, contents. Right here at 712 Connaught. Here in Kennel, Washington. The Kennel Command. Right here. Just dumped all that stuff. Miss Smith was searched. Pursue and search. deputy prisoner found a containing white powder in Mrs. Smith's purse. Over a bird, come on, Gucci bag. Come on, man. This purse is what? 28 million, and then confiscating for the Oz Fitness, Gold's Gym, the Moo Fitness, Trade Moo Ganja Fitness, and then they have the services 24 Hour Fitness in Holland, Kennequah, Dodge Viper, Ferraris, Lamborghini, Miss Hill, and Mr. Smith. Contains these purposes. Posting bail, come on, you post bail, my property ain't for sale, why don't you go get a life or something? Make something of yourself or something. The warrant to her family and friends who arrived later could not obtain Mrs. Smith's release on bail. Come on. Release that heathen fool, slithering con artist. By this time, police had discovered the cocaine in her purse. Come on, Coca-Cola products, LDS, CPS, DSS, you got testimony and all these individuals. Mr. Hatcher's a different man now. You must move on, my son. Move on. Go get a life. Fly away or something. Get some wings. Go Mach 20 right now. Why don't you go move somewhere? A different planet or something. Ms. Smith contends the purpose of Recital 10.21.030. The family and friends arrived later to retain Mrs. Smith. Released by, come on, release her on bail. By the time the police had discovered the cocaine was still in her purse. Now, the officer failed to advise the defendant. The warrant exists and it was impossible. These case may be found suitable compliance with statute. Many of the statute limitations have been violated and found in compliance with statute. Legislature concerned public conditions. Arrest early. Now, she's dogging her. She's being dogged by this individual. Was told that is being arrested on the authorities' warrant on this arrest. Dogged out. Casted out of here. And this seems to be a catastrophe, a shocking moment, an unbelievable, shocking, just like, you don't know what time it is. You're unbelievable. You don't know what time, where day, where you're at. You're shocked. And this is officer sufficiently complied with this statute with complex and purpose shock. And the unbelievable is that there are several cases, jurisdictions just move, process, and really moved by his hands. This process, dexterity, this individual, this public guilty of sort of petty infractions. Sophisticated made up all these high beam, spotlight, loading zone areas, fabricating minor offenses. These are not even novel, these are not even black and white, these are not even offenses. Stay tuned. Story time. Nothing but nonfiction.